We have our next shiur and our final shiur for tonight's evening, which is a beautiful pulla that we're doing. This is our second year that we have a night of learning in honor of my father, and it's special because the time my father was ish was Torah was his geschmack and his chayes, and he just enjoyed a good avorat and geschmack, and he had a lot of interesting inyanim. Say a siddur mit Yiddish and say b'chlal yesh litmoya, which is a weekly sheet that he had in it all inyanim from nigla drush and pshat and chassidus, and from not just the Likutei Sichos, but he had from all zachen, and it was an amazing inyan, and he had a vart to say, and of course, in the Ziv Hashemus, which was kind of mocking. It's Mitzvah Shem, it's coming out a new print in honor of my father's yahrzeit today, but it wasn't ready for today. But in the next little bit, a new print of the Ziv Hashemus, which is his piece on names. And I want to take this opportunity and to invite a yedid of my father and someone that had a geschmack and learning together, many tshuvas and shaylas zusammen, and one of the rabbanim that are the masmich and test the talmidim in the Lama'an Yilmadu. We have the opportunity of hearing from Rav Gdali Oberlander, the Mother da Asra in the Kehillah from Kingston, to give us a shiur. And tonight's shiur will be regarding giving mezuzah to a goy and on those in Yonim. B'chavod Rav Harav Oberlander.
My greatest honor to be learning together with so much choshev talmidim of Lama'an Yilmadu, Moyer Ruas, and other subjects we learned, and the kana mokum to remember my good friend Reb Zoshe. Was it's the whole tonight is basically l'schusoy, because this is your side. Unforgettable person. A yid was hat sich gekochten teure. Gekochten teure means that this whole chayes was teure. Our people was when they eat, they kochen sich an essen, and when they work, they kochen sich in arbeiten, and when they learn, they kochen sich lernen. But the Reb Zoshe kol kilo gewinnt teure. The geschmack, anai chidish, the geschmack, finding something unique, interesting. He was always, he liked, something which people don't realize in Mamerkt. Was very cute to see, his geschmack in Inyonim, which is not normal, not the norm by most people. And he basically made a meiesed which kanai nahara, kan yirbu, brought tremendous habotzes ha-Torah. That means not only he had the geschmack in Torah and was sitting and learning, but he was a marbetz Torah on a national figure, a national scale. I keep on finding talmidim which went through the system, and they tell me, you should know one thing, the Iman Yilmad would change my life. So to speak, I became a ben Torah. Automatisch, I became a ben Torah because, I finished that subject, so automatically, if a person feels a ben Torah, he acts like a ben Torah, and automatically it changes the whole shtib, the whole, the children respect him more. And people tell me, you should know one thing, whatever I learned in Lama'an Yilmadu, I still remember it. So it's a gewaldige schus for his neshama that this Moses still goes on and not goes on, or be'yeser saisi be'yeser ois, and thanking the kana mukim to thank is Choshev Rebbetzin, which basically, without her pushing it, I don't know how much it would have continued, especially his Choshev Azin, Reb Chaim Yisrael, which gives his whole life for this Moses, for the success, and for the Habutzes HaTorah. So I'm sure a big schus, the Habutzes HaTorah and the Limud Torah tonight, the schis, Hamaisim, Reb Zoshe, and the schus HaChaim, his wife and children, and the Shem should help it that the Habutzes HaTorah should go mala, more Tomidim, more Nachas, and they should see Nachas, the Kedusha, from all their children, children bepoil, bepashtas, and also children Ayla Talmidim. I want to address a Nikida Ashayla which I was asked from a Balbos, a Choshev Balbos, asked me that he has a good friend, a doctor, which is not a Yid, is a Goy, but he has a gewaltige Warmkeits-Yiddishkeit, and he has a lot of Yiddish patients. So he asked him if you could get me a mezuzah, because I know my Yiddish patients, when they come to me and they see a mezuzah on the door, they feel much comfortable, much more relaxed. So I would like that you should purchase me a mezuzah. I want to hang it up in my office. So that Balabas asked me, what is the halacha? Am I allowed to buy him a mezuzah? I'm not allowed to buy him a mezuzah. And he knew something, it might be some issue. So he asked me, what should he do? So let's delve in a little bit in this subject and see if you are permitted, if you are allowed and not allowed. The Remu in Yeredaya Simarash Sadik Aleph Sif Bais, the Remu says like this, quote, Oivet Kechuvim, Shebikesh Shiyit Eloi Mezuzah. A goy who asked from a Yid that they should give him a mezuzah, and he wants to put it on his door. So the Remu Paskins Aser Litneloi. It's also to give him a mezuzah. The Remu finishes, but generally the Mekom the Ikela Meichesh B'Shem Aiva in a time, in a matzav that you are afraid that is going to be Eva, that means he's going to start hating you, and V'Shiyaira, and he's going to basically do harm to the Yid, V'Shiyaira Mishim Zeli Yisrael, and he's going to do harm to a Yid. So then in such a case, Zug the Remu Shura. It's not a problem to give him a mezuzah. That means Mitzad Halacha, it's also to give him a mezuzah, but if you are afraid by not giving him, he's going to become your enemy, and he's going to start harassing you, or punishing you, or whatever, then it's mutter. Now the Mekor from this Remu is a Maril. In Shalosh Yeshivas Maril, Hachadoshos, there's 2 volumes. One is the regular Maril, and then there's Hachadoshos. Simek Kuf Chav Gimel. He was asked this question. The Hegmon, that means the Purat, so to speak, the Rasha the mayor of a town, asked a Yid that he should give him a mezuzah, and he told him that I want to have a mezuzah, I want to put it on my palace, and he promised him that if you're going to give me a mezuzah, I'm going to be in your debt for the rest of your life. I'm going to pay. It will be a good payback. I will help you. And there was also a chashash that if he's not going to give him the mezuzah, it will be disastrous for him, because the moishel, the Rashi, the mayor, the governor of that area will harm him. So he asked the Maril, what is the halacha? Am I allowed to give him a mezuzah? Or no, I am not allowed. And the Maril answered him, it's also to give a mezuzah for a goy. And he brings the Gemara Masechtas Gittin Daf Mem Hayim with Aleph, that if there's goyim who are selling tefillin and mezuzahs, a Yid comes across a goy who sells tefillin and mezuzahs, he should purchase it at kedai demayim, as much as the full price he should pay for it, because we want it shouldn't stay in their hands, in the hand of the goy. The goy shouldn't have a mezuzah or a tefillin, so therefore you should pay full price to get it back. And it says, if not, we are afraid that if we are going to pay more than the prices, then the goyim will have a very good reason to start going into shuls and steal the tefillin. So we would have said that you should pay even more than the price. You should pay even as much as he asks. But since we are afraid that if we are going to pay yoysen mikdai temayim, we have a problem. Maybe the goyim will see it's a good business, so they'll start stealing tefillin mezuzahs and start selling it, because they know the Yid will pay for it extra, more than the price. So then the Chazal say, don't pay more than the K'mai Demayim. But HaKaporim, till Kedai Demayim, you should pay. Zug de Maril, if we see that there's a mitzvah and an Indian that you should basically purchase back tefillin mezuzah from a goy, and even yoisim etaytamayim, because if not, we are afraid that they're going to start stealing mezuzahs and tefillins, we should have paid even more than the market price. So we see, if we are seeing that you should purchase back tefillin mezuzahs, avada, that it's also to give them lekitchila and to sell them a tefillin mezuzah. And the Maril says, even if the guy says that he's going to watch it and he's going to keep it bechovadik, and so you shouldn't be afraid he's going to do something abezoin to it. Zug the Maril, no, you can't sell it to him. Why? Because that, if you're going to give him a mezuzah, even though he said he's going to keep it bechovat, that will be as long as he doesn't get any, he doesn't get any damage. If he's going to buy a mezuzah, because why doesn't need it? Because he wants it should be a protection, because a mezuzah be'etzem is a protection. And even for a goy, as the famous Rebbe's sichen in Heilige Test, that even for a goy, basically a mezuzah is a protection, because a mezuzah itself is a protection. So if he's going to see that the protection didn't help, so he's going to get angry and he's going to desecrate the mezuzah. So therefore, the Maril, although he says he's going to keep it bechuvat, we are afraid that something will happen to him, and then he's going to get angry on the mezuzah that he didn't protect him, and he's going to desecrate it. So therefore, it's also to give him a mezuzah. And Nishnadus Adraba, in such a case, he's going to be mavaza the mezuzah much more, because he feels the mezuzah, basically, they took advantage, they sold him a mezuzah, and it didn't help anything. And it will be a gewaltige chil Shem Shemaim, much more than we thought by giving him a mezuzah, and we wanted it to be a kiddush Shem Shemaim. If chaz v'sholem something is going to happen to him, it's going to be a gewaldige chil Shem Shemaim. Then the Maril says, even if nothing is going to happen to him, and he's going to keep it b'chovet, who knows, once he dies, his children, what they're going to do with the mezuzah. As long as he lives, he's going to hold the mezuzah b'chovet. But once he's going to die, the children will take the mezuzah, throw it in the garbage, mezalzel. So therefore, the Maril says it's also to give him a mezuzah. The Maril has other reasons. If you're going to put the mezuzah, we might think it's a Jewish house, and a Yid will go ask him to stay, and it's chashash of shvichas domim. The Maril gives other reasons, but this is the reason. The main reason was the Maril writes that you cannot sell a mezuzah, and even in this case, there was a chashash of aiva, even a chashash that if you won't give a mezuzah, there will be harm for the Yid. The paskas the Maril, you cannot sell a mezuzah to a goy because it is a chil Hashem, and we're afraid they are not going to keep it bechuvadik. Now, there's a Yerushalmi in Masechtes Paya, Perig Aleph, Halacha Aleph, and Yerushalmi says like this: Artevon was a goy. He sent for Rabbi Yakudish. Rabbi Yakudish, the Rebbe who made the Mishnah, who edited the Mishnah, he sent for him Margula Tuva Atimisen. And the Pnei Moshe writes a very expensive, rare, expensive diamond, which costs a lot of money. He sent a present for Rabbi Yakudish, since he was his friend. He sent him a very expensive diamond for a present. And he asked Rebbe, I sent you a very expensive present. Please send me back, a present too. I give you a present. I want something in return. So Rabbi Yakudish sent him a mezuzah. A mezuzah. So Artevon says for Rebbe, I don't understand. I sent you a diamond which costs thousands of zalas. A fortune. You sent me back a mezuzah which costs a few groschen, a small matbaya. It's not fair. So Rabbi Yakudish, Rebbe answered him, all what I could send you and all what you could send me does not come to the worth of one mezuzah. not even that it's worth much more. You sent me something, a marble, a diamond, which I have to make sure and watch it, because tomorrow thieves will come in and steal it and then have nothing of the whole diamond. So I have to sit and watch what the present you gave me. The present I gave you, you could sleep in your bed, and the mezuzah will be shomer on you. It will protect you, because there's a pasuk in Mishnah. So he said, you sent me something which I have to watch it, I have to protect it, I have to put it in my safe. I sent you something which the mezuzah will protect you. So from over here we see a story which see clearly that Rabbi Yakudish sent a mezuzah for a goy. And that's against the Maril, which the Maril says you cannot send a mezuzah for a goy. And because of this Yerushalmi, the Emden, the Yavats, in his Sefer Shal Shivas Yavats, Chaydik Bay Simech Huf Chaf Aleph, writes on the Maril that you overdid it. You know, you said that basically it's also to send, even when there is Chashash Aiva, don't send, it's a Bazoyan. We see over here that no, the Yerushalmi writes clearly that's not a problem to send a mezuzah for a goy, especially when there's a Chashash Aiva. Because the Ayavats learned Pshat, as the Play Moshe and other poskim learn, that Ortavon was basically a goy. So we see basically that Rebbe sent a mezuzah. And since Rebbe knew that Ortavon will basically keep it and protect it, keep it b'chuvat, so therefore Rebbe said you could send, and not he could send, he sent. So the Yavat says for the Emden, for rights on the Maril, over here you have the Hegman, the governor of that plach, said for the Yid, that if you're going to send me a mezuzah, I'm going to keep it b'chuvat, I'm going to put it on my palace, I'm going to keep it b'chuvat. Why are you so radical in saying that he cannot send, even if he's going to keep it b'chuvat, and even though it's going to be Iva? Why are you so radical? And that's why we see that the Emden says it's not a problem. I can put him at least that if he says that it is I'm gonna watch it, maybe you could send, but I could put him when there's Iva for sure. It's not a problem. If there's a problem, a chashash that a yid will come get harmed, then it's not a problem. And then for sure in such a case, you could send them a mezuzah. Now, be'etzem, we have to understand Taki de Maril, because after all, we have a Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi says clearly that a Rebbe sent a mezuzah. So what do you say that you cannot send it? The Maril cannot argue with a Gemara. Now we can answer Lamasa that there's a machloikas if Ortavon was a Jew or not. Most Mepharshim say Ortavon was a goy. Orly, and this is how the M holds, and other poskim hold that Ortavon was a goy, and we see from here that you could send them a mezuzah. But it could be the Maril learned Ortavon was a yid, like the Pnai Moshe. The Pnai Moshe holds that Ortavon was a yid, a gvir, a wealthy yid, a choshev yid, and it wasn't a goy. So therefore we cannot ask a question on the Maril from the Gemara, because the Maril would hold he was a yid. So it's not a problem to send. Rebbe did not have a problem of sending a mezuzah. But according to Rav Mefarshim, is Ortavon was a goy, and therefore, not like the Pnai Moshe, and therefore, we see that it's not a problem, a kapunam, if he says he's going to keep it nice, especially if it's going to be Iva, that you could send for a goy. Now, the Remu brings down this Maril Halakha. It says, as we mentioned before, which asks that you should send him a mezuzah, you cannot give it. But he adds on, venerally, the Mekomukum, the Chashash Aiva, and in a case which is Chashash Aiva, then you could be lenient. So basically, the Remu brings down the Maril, but only half of the Maril. He brings down only basically, he passes like the Maril, that only Lekitchila you shouldn't give for a goy, But if there is a chashash aiva, that some harm will come for the Yid, then basically it is mutter, and you could give it for a goy. So that's the psak of the Remu. Limazeh, the Arachaim HaKudosh, in his Sefer Rishon LeZion of Shulchan Aruch, he disagrees with the Remu, and he says, no, he passes fully like the Maril, and he says that even in a case there is Aiva, you cannot sell a mezuzah, because we see the Maril writes clearly, in his case, it was a chashash that if you are not going to give him a mezuzah, he's going to basically harm the Yid. And even though the Maril passes, in such a case, you cannot sell for a goy. So the Arachaim HaKudosh says that the Remu is not right. The Remu, which is lenient, that basically you could sell it if, or give it if it's a chashash aiva. He says no. He says the mezuzah is shmira for the house, and the Kudosh, and since the mezuzah is a shmir for the house, which Hashem is by the door, and He keeps watch an eye on a Jewish house, you should not be mezalzel in a mezuzah, in kuvat to the Meibishten, and give it for a goy. And even if there is a problem of aiva, don't give for a goy. And that's how he passes, not like the Remu. The Masa, we can look in the Maril, is the Arachaim HaKudosh right? That basically the Maril says in his case it's a chashash aiva, and even though he said he shouldn't sell, so according to Pashas the Maril, the Arachaim is right. How could, if you pass like the Maril that you cannot sell a mezuzah, you cannot take the Maril halfways. That you could sell, you shouldn't sell, but aiva you could sell. If you take the Maril, you take the Maril all the way, and you can't divide it. But Lamasa, most poskim disagree with the Arachaim HaKudosh, with the Rishon LeZion, and they pass like the Remu, that if there is a chashash aiva, then you could give for a goy. Regularly, you cannot give a goy, but if it's a chashash aiva, then you could give a goy. You can see over there, Yad Shol on Simarash Tadigala, Mechai Odom Klal Tezvov, or Chashulchem. We see the poskim go and passing according to the Remu, that if you are afraid that it's going to come some harm for the Yid, then it is permitted to sell it for a goy. But regular, you cannot give for a goy a mezuzah or sell for a goy. Now, what is considered aiva? We pass like the Remu, as we mentioned, aiva you could give for a goy. Well, what is considered aiva? Which in such a case you are permitted to give for a goy. Now, the Moshe Feinstein in Charles Shivas Igris Moshe Yerdai Heilig Allah Simak Kuf Pai Dalet, he says two parameters. You know, he gives two gdorim what is considered aiva. Number one, aiva is if the goy would retaliate against the Yid, that's considered aiva, and for such a case you could sell a mezuzah for a goy. Or even if you want to retaliate, but if he's going to become your enemy, that's also enough. It's also considered aiva, that in such a case you could sell a mezuzah. What does it mean? He gives a moshel. What does it mean? For instance, that he's not going to retaliate, but basically he's going to become your enemy. So the Moshe says, if the goy, in that case was that a goy wanted to rent an apartment from a Yid, but one condition he had, I want you should rent me that apartment, but you have to leave the mezuzah, because I want that the mezuzah should stay in the house. He knows that the mezuzah is a shmira for the Jewish people, so I'm ready to rent your apartment with one condition, that you leave the mezuzah, that I should be able to have the mezuzah on my door. So the Moshe says like this: if the goy tells you that if you are not going to rent me this apartment with the mezuzah, I'm gonna go and rent another apartment from a goy. So that means even though the goy, when he goes to the goy to rent apartment, he's not going to have a mezuzah either. So he's ready to retaliate, so to speak, to give up this apartment, because if not, because you don't want to give me the mezuzah, I'm gonna go to another goy. I'm going to go to a goyish apartment and rent it. That means, although in the goyish apartment also he won't have a mezuzah, so what does he gain? That means he became an enemy of the Yid. He's angry on him, so he's ready to not rent from the Yid the apartment because he doesn't want to give him the mezuzah. Although in the goyish apartment he also won't have a mezuzah. So that means he's angry, and that's enough, according to the Moshe, to consider it Eva, and you could rent the apartment. If the guy will say that if you are not going to give me your apartment, I'm going to rent my apartment by other Yid, which will give me the mezuzah. So that's not a simon, that it's not a sign that he's an enemy of the Yid. He doesn't want to rent your apartment because he wants a mezuzah, and you don't want to give it to me. I'll go to other Yid who will give me a mezuzah. It's not retaliation. But if he's ready not to rent your apartment and go to a goyish house and rent the apartment, although the goyish house will also not have a mezuzah, it is because he wants to retaliate and he's angry on the Yid. And the Moshe Paskas in such a case, it's considered Eiva, and according to the Ramon, which we pasken, it is permitted that you should rent your apartment and leave the mezuzahs, because if not, that's considered Eiva. Okay. So that's the Geder of Ramoshe. Ramoshe's Geder is if he becomes a soina. If he doesn't become a soina, then it's also basically to give a mezuzah. Now, there's some which want to say that maybe give for the goy a non-kosher mezuzah, a pasul mezuzah. See, such a case, what's the big deal? You give him a pasul mezuzah. We don't have a chashash that of zilzul and chil Hashem, because after all, it's possible. So the Moshe over there writes pshitas, you cannot do it. If a guy asks if a mezuzah, and you don't want to give it because it's also to give a mezuzah for him, you should not give him a pasul mezuzah. The Moshe says, because if you give him a mezuzah which is pasul, it's first of all genayvas das. Why? Because the guy wants a mezuzah because he wants a kosher mezuzah to put on his door, that Hashem should watch him, which we know, as I mentioned before, a mezuzah itself, the essence of a mezuzah is a shmira. It's lav dafke when you make a mitzvah. The Rebbe in Heilig Yites has a whole arichas. Lav dafke the kima mitzvah is the shmira, because the Rebbe brings down over there that there was a minig by some people. They had a mezuzah on the table. The Friedige Rebbe had on his table, in Yichid's table, a mezuzah. So the Rebbe over there explains that a mezuzah itself, the essence of a mezuzah is a shmira. Lav dafke when you make a mitzvah. So b'mayla zukt of dem Moshe, if the guy wants to purchase a mezuzah dafka, kosher mezuzah, because he wants it to be a shmira, and you give him a non-kosher mezuzah, a pasul mezuzah, that's genayvas das. And we know clearly, the Gemara says in the Chilon, and it's a pasuk in the halacha, that it's also to be goynev das even from a goy. And it's pasuk in the Rambam, Shulchan Aruch. So therefore, a Moshe holds that you should not give him a pasul mezuzah, and because you're ganaf, you're goynev das. There's another reason which I think that you shouldn't give, benoisif to the Moshe's goynev das, because after all, even if you have a pasul mezuzah, this mezuzah was basically kosher once, became pasul, and you cannot fix it, because by mezuzahs you cannot fix the mezuzah. So therefore, this mezuzah had kedushas Hashem. So we have the Shem Havai in the pasul mezuzah. So therefore, you have kedushas Hashem. It was written b'kedusha, and it stays b'kedusha. A pasul mezuzah you cannot throw away. You have to be going and see it because it has a kedusha. So if the Maril's chash is that he's going to become mezalzel the mezuzah, we still have this chash that you're going to give him a pasul mezuzah, and he's not going to. It won't be have a shmira. So therefore, you cannot give him a mezuzah without the cheshbon of going of das from a goy, because it is a chash that he's going to be mezalzel, he or his children, as the Maril's writes. Once he dies, they're going to take the mezuzah and be mezalzel, and it still has a kedusha. But there's another thing which maybe could be a solution, that you should. That we spoke now of a mezuzah which was written b'kedushas mezuzah, and it became pasul. But maybe there's another solution. Maybe the solution will be that the yid should write a mezuzah, shloi b'kedusha, shloi l'shem kedushas a mezuzah, and give it for the goy. And over here, you don't have the problem of mezalzel zan b'kedusha mezuzah. You still have the problem of a Moshe of going genayvas das, but akaponim you won't have the problem of writing a mezuzah of mezuzah kedisha. And this is interesting. The Netziv, the famous Netziv, in a Sefer Hamagduvar Ashiltas, wants to say that this is the solution. Because it's interesting. I mentioned before, the Yerushalmi brings a story of Artavon that Rebbe sent him a mezuzah. And the Lashon in Yerushalmi is that the Rebbe sent him a mezuzah. But the same thing, the same story, is also brought down in Shiltas. And in Shiltas, it says that the Rebbe wrote him a mezuzah. Rebbe kosev la mezuzah, and he sent him. So the Netziv, which has a parish, Hamagduvar an Shiltas, writes, why did the Shiltas write that the Rebbe wrote him a mezuzah? And it doesn't say like Yerushalmi that the Rebbe sent him a mezuzah. Because when he called to Yerushalmi, if he sent him a mezuzah, that means he took a kosher mezuzah and sent him. But according to the Shiltas, no. Rebbe wanted to avoid this problem that maybe that he's going to be mezalzel b'kedishas mezuzah, and maybe he or his children, like the Chshushas which Amaril writes, that maybe eventually the goy will have some kind of tzora, and therefore he's going to be mezalzel in mezuzah. So therefore, Rebbe wrote specially a mezuzah for him. And when Rebbe wrote a mezuzah, he wrote it shloi b'kedishas mezuzah. So therefore, that's why the Shiltas writes that Rebbe wrote a mezuzah and sent him, and not only like the Yerushalmi that they sent him a mezuzah. So basically, this could be a solution to send a mezuzah for a goy if it was not written Hashem Kedishas mezuzah, and it was only written for the goy. And this is how the Yad writes, and also the Mezuzah Meluchim. It writes that if you have a problem, you have to send the mezuzah for a goy. It is kedai to write a mezuzah shloi b'kedishas a mezuzah and send it. So then you have all you solve all the problems. Kemivin, they did not have the problem of the Moshe of Gnai das. The Moshe, because they way before the Moshe, and only he brought up this cheshm. The other poskim Kenera did not have a problem of Gnai das. So therefore, the Yad Shaul, the Yosef Shaul writes that this is the solution. If you have to send a mezuzah for a goy, send them a mezuzah which was written shloi b'kedishas a mezuzah, and send it for the goy. Also, the Mezuzah Meluchim writes like this. What is interesting in Zdaichemet Chaylik Tes, in the part which is called Divrei Chechomim, Soif Simen Kuf Lamed Hai, he talks about this whole subject. He brings down the Chayshik Shloime, wrote over there a letter, and he says that the Netziv is not right. He says, V'tamani, I'm understand, what the Eilas do you have if you write it shloi kedishas mezuzah? What did you say, the Netziv? Write a mezuzah shloi kedishas mezuzah. So therefore, send it for the goy, and then you solve all the problems. So the Chayshik Shloime writes, I don't understand. After all, you wrote two parshas. What is a mezuzah? A mezuzah is shema voim shemoya. It's two parshas of the Torah, and it has askuras, Hashem's name. Now, even though if you wrote shloi l'shem kedishas a mezuzah, but since you wrote two parshas in the Torah, it's organized, has a kedusha automatically. Even if you write something shloi kedishas a mezuzah, the eitzim zach that you take a parsha in the Torah, you write it down, it has a kedusha, and even it doesn't have kedishas haskura. Even the Shem's name is not nichte b'kedusha. But it's Kisvei Kodesh, and Kisvei Kodesh needs Geniza. And we never saw such a thing that you can make it nigh and to write a parsha in the Torah without Kedusha. There's no such a thing. A parsha in the Torah has automatically Kedusha, even if it doesn't have a Hashem's name. Even if you take a parsha in the Torah which doesn't have Hashem's name. The Eitzim Zach that it's a parsha in the Torah has a Kedusha. So what solution do you give me that you should write the mezuzah without Kedusha's mezuzah? Even if it doesn't have Kedusha mezuzah, so you cannot give it for a goy, because it has a Kedusha. We are afraid that you should be mezalzel. The truth is, you could ask even on the Netziv even more the question. What did the Netziv write? The Netziv says that he sent a mezuzah which was written shloi kedishas mezuzah. So, Bazoy, what kind of business did the Rebbe set for Artavan that you sent me a thing that I have to watch it? I have to keep putting it in the safe and watching nobody should steal it. And I sent you a thing which gives a shmira for you. You can sleep in your bed and it keeps you a safe. If it's not half Kedishas HaMezuzah, if it's not written by Kedishas HaMezuzah, so it's not a shmira. The whole thing that a mezuzah is a shmira is because it was written Kedishas HaMezuzah. So what kind of business did the Nesiv say? Write a mezuzah, shloi b'kedishas HaMezuzah, and it's probably this is the way how a Rebbe did. He wrote a mezuzah shloi b'kedishah and he gave it for Artavan. So the question is, if he gave it for Artavan, the mezuzah doesn't protect you. It's not a shmira for you. So what did the Rebbe say for Artavan? I sent you a thing which protects you. It's not true. It doesn't protect you because it's not written Kedishas HaMezuzah. And even though if you wrote it the Shem Kedishas Kamaya, yeah, like the Yacho wants to say that it's like a Kamaya, it's also also because it's also to write Sukim and a Kamaya as it's clearly passing the Shechan Orch Yadai Semekifai Tesiv Bais. That it's also to put the right psikim in a kamaya, because regarding the busy kedishas psikim, it still have a problem of kedusha. It's loy gura from a blat of a gemara or a goddess that is also to throw away. You have to put it in the shaimas, and you cannot put it in you cannot go into the toilet. So basically, to sum it up, is that to send a mezuzah which is non-kosher it's awesome. First of all, because it has kedushas askuras, and also it's g'dai v'zdas. To send something which was written lekitchila without kedusha is also not a solution, because after all it's parshas on the Torah, and it's not a shmira b'chal, and therefore the whole pshat of the Netziv that the Rebbe sent him a mezuzah which was written shloi b'kedisha it cannot be an answer, because we see not only we see that Rebbe told him that it's a shmira. The Gemara in the Shiltas writes the end of the story that Ortavan had a basichida, a daughter, which became ill by a shed went into it, a dibik went into the daughter, and she became crazy. And he had all doctors. All the doctors came because he was a wealthy king, a wealthy governor, whatever, a wealthy hegman. And all the doctors came, and nobody could heal him. And once Rebbe sent him the mezuzah, and he put it on the door of the room of his daughter, the shed left the body of the daughter. She got healed. This is what the Shiltas writes. That was the end of the story. So we see that the mezuzah with Rabbi Nakudish sent for Artavan was a shmira. So since it was a shmira, it was written b'kedisha, and it had kedisha mezuzah, because only then it's a shmira. So therefore, the Natziv's answer that it was written shloi b'kedisha mezuzah is also not an answer. So Lama'ase, to sum it up, is like this: the Shechan Paskins, like the Maril, it's also to send a mezuzah to a goy, and this is a halacha psuka, and therefore we have no right to send a mezuzah for a goy, except in a case which is aiva. If we are afraid he's going to become my enemy, he's going to harm me, then we can be lenient according to the Shilas Yavas, according to the Maril, and according to the Rishon Lezion, the Archaim HaKudosh. Even in such a case is asur, but since we have a remove, and most posts can pass like the remove, in a case which is chash aiva, then you should then you can be lenient. If it's not chash aiva, it's asur api halacha to send to a goy a mezuzah. Now, what are you going to do with the Yerushalmi? The Maril at least will have to say that Artem was a yid like the Prime Moshe. So Lamais halucha lamaisa, I paskin for that yid. You can say for the doctor, my good friend, I like you, we're good friends, but according to Jewish law, it won't help you. I cannot sell you one, and I could sell you a shofar, I could sell you other Jewish artifacts, but a mezuzah I cannot send you. And I'm sure if you say it, but Arkanoim, it will help. And the end of the story was, he told me that it says for the doctor that according to Jewish law, I cannot give you a mezuzah, and you have to understand. And he says, okay, I respect your religion, and that was the end of the story. There was no Ivan, no problems. So we have to understand, have to know this halacha, because this is a halacha which comes constantly for Rabbanim, which asks if I'm permitted to give a present for a non-Jewish person a mezuzah, and the answer is no. You cannot give him a mezuzah, you cannot sell him a mezuzah, and that's why in halacha is gepasken that you could not take down a mezuzah in a house when you move, and if you move and you know a goy is going to take over your apartment, then you have a right to take up a mezuzah, because we don't want a mezuzah to stay by a goy, even if you don't give it to him. If you leave it on the house, it's still osur. So that's the halacha, and that's halacha למעשה. You cannot give a goy a mezuzah for a present. The Reibische helfen is a mezuzah as the next year, by the Yorset of Reb Zisha, we should see him neshumas begif, bekitzi veranen in shoichne ufer, with all the tzaddikim in our Rebbe besoichem, bebies Mashiach tzidkaini, b'mheir b'meine mamash. Thank you so much for joining us and listening and seeing some faces which I remember from למען ילמדו. You should have a lot of hatzlacha weiter in hatzlacha limud haTorah, and in harua in psak. Kol tov and a good night.
Shukriya, Abraham.